This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here are your hosts, Ryan Alford and Chris Hansen.
Hello, and welcome to Vibe Science, where we're taking alternative personal wellness and making it the only alternative. I'm Ryan Alford, your co-host, joined by my Kimasabe, my good partner, Chris Hansen down in the vacay lounge. What's up, Chris?
What's up, man? How are you today?
I'm wanting to talk some herbs. That's what I'm talking about. I'm wanting to talk herbs with author of Do You Have the Guts? Clinical herbalist and wellness coach, Kristine. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited.
Yes, we're glad to have you. Herbalist Kristine with a K on Instagram. We'll have all of Kristine's notes and everything in the show notes and everything at the end, but that's where you can find her. I just like the name, Do You Have the Guts? I'm kind of like, I guess that's the machismo in a guy, like, you got the guts, let's go. I don't know. I know it has a lot of different meanings, but it kind of has a dual meaning, doesn't it?
Yeah, pun intended.
It's like, do you have the guts to explore probably taking care of your guts, which we'll get into. Kristine, tell us a little bit about yourself.
First and foremost, I'm a mom, and I am a clinical herbalist, but I wasn't always. I was in corporate and management for many years, and it was really kind of a part of the downward cycle to my health. And I finally got to a point where it was just a toxic environment. I wasn't taking care of myself. My gut issues were out of control, and I decided to reclaim my health by, educating myself. And I did go back to school, which was extremely terrifying because I didn't really like school to begin with. But I went and got my master's. I actually loved it. I worked with some really amazing people. My professors were amazing. And that was just the beginning of my journey.
Yeah. So what... there's so many people now, gut health. It's like, you hear about it a lot, but I feel like, at least for me, and I've had a few issues here recently that makes me think I need to get more up to speed on all of this. But you hear it, but it all seems to fly over my head a little bit, I'll just be honest. Like, it's never talked about probiotics and, microbiome. And they have this, and it's like gut, and it's like, I don't know. I need it to be digestible, pun intended.
Honestly, when I wrote this book, I was like, a big part and a big reason why I wrote my book is because a lot of people don't, one, understand herbs, and two, don't completely understand what gut health is and what it means. And so literally, like, in the prologue, the first part of my book is like, what is gut health? Because it's so much more than what people think. And especially now, there's so much information. Before the show, Chris, you were talking about, things that you comes up on your Instagram and your TikTok, and there's so much information. There's so many new products. And sometimes it's really hard to discern, like, what should I be taking? What should I not be taking? It's overwhelming. And at the end of the day, most of us do have gut issues. And again, so I just wanted a place where people can it's a short book. It's just a really valuable resource where you can start educating yourself in a way that is digestible.
I like it. I'm going to have to read the book. I'm going to have, didn't have time in the schedule of everything else, but it's on my list now, and I will have the guts. Kristine, I'm going to ask you another, basic, keep related to the basics here. I like to, bring it down, simplify. That's what we're trying to do here at Vibe Science. We're trying to demystify and shine light on personalized wellness. Tell me what exactly is a clinical herbalist?
Herbalism has been around for thousands of years. Traditionally, herbalism was something that was passed down from generation to generation. And now, because of, everything that we have access to, there's more variations of herbal medicine. You have Chinese traditional medicine, You have Western herbalism. And when I was kind of researching, exactly what I wanted to do, what part of the spectrum, I ran into the clinical herbalism, which is a little bit more, I don't know, like I base a lot of my like when I'm creating a wellness and an herbal program for my clients, I like to look at their entire history, and that can include any blood work, things of that nature. So it's a little bit more clinical in that way. But honestly, I incorporate just about everything. Like I even do something called tongue diagnosis, which I know it sounds very interesting. It's actually really quite simple. It's just you just take a look at your tongue, and there's just certain things like the color, the texture. Is there like a coating on your tongue? All those things can tell you some really important things about what's going on in your body. So it's a pretty well-rounded approach.
That's fascinating. We're here, Vibe Science. We are increasing tongue health, one tongue at a time. If we do nothing else, Chris, we will have succeeded if we improve tongue health. It sounds like.
I've heard about this before. I don't know what to look for. I'm curious now because, once in a while I do look at my tongue, and sometimes you do notice some like different colors, or
I'm reducing.
So
I'm
interested
like removing the
interpret it.
urge to stick my tongue out right now.
Dude, me too. I was gonna say, Kristine, do I send you a selfie of my tongue after this to your DMs, and you can do an interpretation for me?
Yeah, go for it. Send it to me.
Your inbox is just filled with people with their tongue sticking out.
What the hell are these guys talking about? They got their tongues hanging out. I love it. Tell us about an herb. What's like I don't know, maybe something that's garnering more attention now. Like what's like a superfood herb that should be on our radar.
Well, right now I've noticed that adaptogens are huge. I think they're in most like complexes. Like, you hear Joe Rogan talk about AG1. There's adaptogens in there, which are herbs. And I'm starting to just see them pop up all over the place. And adaptogens can be great because they can really help your body deal with stress. And that could be external stress, that could be internal stress. But there's also two different types of adaptogens. Like, for example, Eleuthero. Eleuthero is a stimulant adaptogen, and actually it was used by the Russian Olympians to enhance, their skills, which is like pretty crazy. But you don't want to be on a stimulant, nothing. I mean, just the word stimulant, right? You don't want to be stimulating your body even more, especially if it's already like in hyperdrive and overworked and overstressed. So adaptogens like ashwagandha or holy basil are, adaptogens and herbs that you can take regularly that can help, support your body.
I know, Chris, you've been big on ashwagandha, and we've got that in a couple of our products. Talk to me about your process for how you work with people. You started down that path a little bit, but when from looking at blood work and looking at history and all that stuff, like what are most people coming to you with gut issues, and then it's sort of like the herbs play a role in healing that or suppressing it? Talk to us about that process for how people come to you and how you help them.
Sure. God, I have just about all walks of life just, coming to me. And most of the times, let's say they come to me with an autoimmune issue. Sometimes, my goal here is to get to the root cause, right? Plant-based medicine, herbal medicine is, we want to get to the root cause, and then we want to support the body. But, autoimmune, you may not think, that's related to gut issues, but, there have been times where, in fact, there were certain things that triggered their gut health to kind of spiral out of control, and then they ended up getting an autoimmune disease shortly after. So, so that can happen. When you go to a doctor, how much time are you spending with them? Really? A
About
few minutes?
4.2 minutes.
Until their iPad tells them the timer's run out and they need to go to the
Yeah.
next patient because they're on corporatized medicine.
And like, how many questions do they really ask you? And you know, do you really feel heard?
No.
You know, did they get the whole story? For me and my approach, I really take everything into account. I mean, even like your job. Like, what are you doing every day? You know, because all of those factors, you know, what were you eating as a child? How many antibiotics were you taking as a child? Because I know for me, I had chronic ear infections. So Lord knows how much antibiotics. And, you know, the fact that my gut issues started in like high school, like, and when I look back, I see why it happened in the first place. You know, I was eating Pop-Tarts in the morning, you know, that was normal. I was on antibiotics, you know, so all these things, even like past trauma, you know, that all plays a role in your health. And more importantly, I think what distinguishes the difference between other modalities and other forms of medicine versus like herbal medicine is that we don't look at the person who has it, like, we don't look at them as as a disease or having that such disease. Like, for instance, you know, Chris, if you had, like, you were labeled with IBS, I'm not going to just treat you for IBS. You know, I'm going to treat you as Chris, you know, because you are an individual and you are different from, let's say Ryan has IBS too. Like, I'm not going to give you the exact same treatment. You guys, you know, you have your lives are completely different. Your history is completely different. What's going on in your body is completely different. And so I treat it as such. And I don't just use herbs either. A big, like, portion is nutrition. It plays a major role, and lifestyle as well. But nutrition really, like, is number one over herbs, truly.
Yeah. It's hard to outwork or outpace a bad diet. You know, you can take all the herbs and different things you want, and then, you know, if you're washing it down with pizza like I do, it doesn't go well.
Pop-Tarts and Coke Zero.
Yeah, I'm thinking, like, I think I had a
Back then it was
Pop-Tart yesterday morning for breakfast. I was like feeling guilty when you said that. Well, I have 4 boys at home, like young boys. I'm like, I got more temptation. I live on Temptation Island, and it's not that kind of island. It's all the snack food temptation.
Snacks.
I can relate. Well, I'm also pregnant. I'm like 27 weeks pregnant, and I'm having a girl this time. And my hormones, I'm like here I am posting to social media, and then I have no shame. You know, I'm posting what's healthy and, you know, herbs you can take, and then here I am having, like, you know, a couple Oreos. You know, but
Hey, that's real though.
it's real. It happens.
I know it's funny.
Like-
Like, the more people we talk to, it's so clear that, like, number one, and we'll have our disclaimers. We're not giving any medical advice here, and Kristine is not claiming to be a doctor, but she does. You know, wellness, you know, covers the gamut of a lot of different things, and the reality is, like Kristine, you said, the doctors are only spending 4 minutes with you. They can't give you this level. There's so much more to your wellness that has to be taken care of if you're really taking it serious. They just aren't. I'm not saying they're not educated. They might be educated, but they don't have the time, and there's just so many other factors. So it's like you've got to augment your personal wellness with other techniques that you vet out and you test and you see, you know, like, so. But it's just become so clear to me that there's just so much more that goes into wellness that has to be considered.
Absolutely. And I think a huge portion, just to kind of like go off to the side just a little bit about what you said, I worked for a chiropractor for a little bit, and I like taught myself how to do the medical billing for her, and I really got a sneak peek at what it was like with the insurance companies. And you know, I'm going to give the doctors a little bit of credit here, because what often happens is that these insurance companies are not, like, when you bill them out, they're barely paying. And so it's basically forcing the physician to like stack their patients in order to be able to run their facility. So it's not even just them. I feel like they've kind of been put in this like pressure box to work a certain way,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think it's
Totally
less
agree.
about bashing them, to your point, and more just recognizing that they have a place and it's a very important place. And modern medicine is very important. It saves our lives every day. We're not here to, in any way, dismiss that. Our goal is just to shine light on the additional ways that people can now seek out more help, more solutions to everyday wellness issues or just preventative things.
I was just gonna say, like your experience, Christine, from what I read, that the modern medicine was not working for you. It was kind of failing you, so you had to take this in your own hands, right? I mean,
Oh God, it was so bad. It was really, really bad. I want to say I was like really, really let down. And I know I'm not the only one that has this story. But when I started, my mom like really, really pushed me to go to see some doctors. And obviously my GP really couldn't do much. So he would, send me to a gastroenterologist and they would do all these tests. And, I remember literally the one guy, because I was like, there's got to be something that's causing this, right? Like there's got to be something that's causing this. And he said to me point blank, it was an older man, I forget his name, not that I would mention on here anyway. And he basically said, well, sometimes it's better not to know. And I'm like, here I am. I think I'm like 19 years old. I definitely had a little bit of a mouth on me at the time. And I was just like, how is that even an answer? Do you really say this to your patients? And I was just like, so I didn't see anyone for a really, really long time. And at that point, I did kind of start to smarten up and educate myself. But I had instances like that for years until finally I was like, I'm just not even going to bother anymore.
I can only imagine. I'd like to hear you when you had a mouth on you. I'd like to have heard that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a Jersey girl.
Oh,
I was
there
a
we go.
teenager. So.
Nice. Where's now you're in Florida, right?
Yeah, I'm in Crystal River, and that in itself has been like really, really wild. 7 months ago, I came here and we got hit with a massive hurricane. My apartment, I'm waiting for my house being built. So we're in this apartment and it floods 4 feet. And then we got hit with the tornado and it's just been like, one thing
You've
after another.
experienced the instant weather there in Florida of all the storms. So talk to me a little bit, Kristine, about I know that everything's personalized, but I'm still I love having like the little insider tips like for our audience and stuff. Like certain, we talked about ashwagandha, but like are there just certain things that and everybody needs to do their own research for what's right for them. So we'll put that mini disclaimer on it. But I am always wanting to know like things that are just holy cow, you start taking it, it just has incredible impacts on a lot of people. I mean, can you talk about anything that you see that you're kind of regularly being recommended?
Well, I think for me personally, and what I've seen with my clients, I have always noticed a very positive outcome with dandelion root, which is really crazy because it's a weed, but if you really think about it, where dandelions can grow in the cracks and crevices of just about anything, they're super, hardy plants. And medicinally, you can eat the whole plant. You can make dandelion wine. Like
Well,
seriously, it's a thing. You should go to Pinterest and research it.
wow.
You can, yeah, you can take the leaves of the dandelion and add them to your salad. They're super mineral rich. It's just, you want to talk about being jam-packed full of just really good nutritional awesomeness. And then the root, which is what I often have a lot in my blends. But dandelion root is just like one of those herbs where it's supporting your liver. People always talk about detox. And I don't know why that like triggers me a little bit because like your body has a natural detoxing process. And I am more or less just like, let's help support your body do what it does naturally. And dandelion is one of those herbs. It helps with digestion. So, I mean, like if you're experiencing like acid reflux, heartburn, if your digestion is like moving the way that it's supposed to, you're probably not going to get a lot of that like GERD and reflux to happen. But ultimately, I've just seen like dandelion root overall, people just, regardless, because it's just so, the capabilities of that plant, I mean, it's just really endless. And again, most of my clients who take dandelion or dandelion root just oftentimes just are more regular and feel better.
There's our entire tip. Dandelion root. Who knew?
Dandelion.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know what was going to come, but I would not have had that on there. Not because I know things, but because it seems, like you said, such a hardy, basic, readily available plant. And for it to be, that beneficial is crazy. And I think that's what's backed us, like, with alternative and plant-based wellness, like, we have a lot of natural, cure is the wrong word, but relief and ways to treat conditions and things that are all right at our fingertips, but we've pushed them away,
Well, what about mushrooms? I really should bring up mushrooms. I'm like such a big fan of mushrooms. I mean, psychedelically, like as far as like, I know people that do microdose. My husband is one of those people. Actually, he just did a, what is that called? Oh my God, it's like ayahuasca.
Yeah.
My husband
Chris
did
has
ayahuasca.
been big into that.
He did twice. Let me tell you, for depression, I'm serious. I told my husband to write a book. Like, it's just amazing. And it's just such a shame that it's not legal. And it's that it should just be provided for people everywhere. People who have PTSD, OCD, anxiety, depression. I mean, like, it's terrible that they just like keep these solutions away from
Yeah, just
people.
control it. It needs to be controlled, but to just not to be having the, anecdotal, we can talk clinical and all that stuff all day, but like there's too much evidence out there for the positive benefits that it should not be explored further at the very least. And, I think things are getting better, but it's like, legislation never moves fast enough.
Yeah, well, I know for mushrooms, I know in some states they're making some serious headway, which is great. I think it might be in Austin. There's a university that has been doing some studies and some trials, which is amazing. It's really great. I know Sweden has had trials and studies going on for quite some time now, but mushrooms and psilocybin, and I mean even just like reishi mushrooms. Lion's mane mushrooms, which by the way, you can get at the grocery store more times than not, especially like I've seen lion's mane. Try it out yourself. If you start taking that every day, like you're going to notice some differences. Mushrooms help with cognition. They help with your immune system. If someone is really, really struggling with, if they have like an autoimmune or they're really struggling with their immune system, my go-to is mushrooms. They're also adaptogenic. So yeah, mushrooms are they're just one of those, like, I always have them on hand, always.
Yeah, we've had a couple of different specialists and or, wellness people around the psychedelic portion, but then the functional, like you're talking about, mushrooms, I take a mushroom complex that I've taken for probably, a year. And I, knock on wood, my immune system seems to be as high as it ever has. Blood work, all my markers are really strong. And I'm not saying it's just that, but there is again, a lot of anecdotal benefits or, anecdotal evidence showing that they have a lot of benefits. And, again, they're growing right there in the ground, but we want to go, we want to make everything lab, if it's not from the lab and spent billions of dollars on. But yeah, it's crazy.
Right,
We've stigmatized everything. And, if it's not $1 billion spent on commercials and something made in a lab, then it must not be good. I don't know. It's the irony is sad, unfortunately, with the way things get put into these buckets.
Yeah, I forget what the percentage is for pharmaceuticals. I want to say, and obviously, I don't know exactly the percentage, but I think it's somewhere around like 60%, maybe a little bit higher, of pharmaceutical drugs are like synthetic derivatives of herbs.
Yeah.
Like,
I've had people try to say that to me, like, well, you realize most pharmaceuticals are plant-based. And I'm like, dude, that's a stretch. Like, I hear you. Like,
yeah.
sure, the poppy plant produces opium, but that's much, much different than Oxycontin.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something that people need to remember. So one, it's the synthetic form, and number two, is that the whole plant, right? Like what I spoke to you about, like dandelion. If you take out a specific constituent, and maybe it's really good at treating, something very specific, but why would you do that if you can just take the whole herb and it can treat a plethora of issues? Many times, like chamomile. I mean, chamomile can help with headaches. It can help with your digestion. It can help, for my son, I give it to my son. It helps with his teething. It also helps with his gas and his bloating. It helps when he's, it helps so many different things. It helps calm him down. It helps him sleep. So why would I pick a particular derivative or constituent when he has the benefits of all that it has to offer?
Yeah, because we're being conditioned, if it doesn't have $1 billion hokey commercial, that it isn't good.
Aren't we like one of the only countries that allows companies to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's only been in the last, it hasn't been around forever. It's only been like last 7 to 9 years, something like that. Like, it's not for everything. They legalized that. I guess they fought legislature hard enough for to be able to market it, and now and so now it's like the bottom up. The consumers are now asking for the pharmaceuticals. Like, it was never that way. The awareness of, and look, it's marketing. I know how this works. I've done it my whole life.
It's crazy. Like, ask your doctor about this next time you see him. Like, that whole tagline, the fact that's normal is mind blowing. Ask your doctor next time you see him if this is a good.
It worked for me. It got me when I was younger and I was eating garbage and I was going out to when clubbing was like super big, and I had terrible reflux, and I remember seeing the commercial for like the purple pill, and I remember asking my doctor about it. Literally what it told me to do. I was like brainwashed, and he told me actually that I was going to be on that for like the rest of my life. And when I was like, well, that doesn't really quite make sense. And when I went on to like their website, they're like, no, it's really for short-term use only. It's if like you have an ulcer or whatever, it's just to kind of allow your body the time to like heal and do what it needs to do. But I can't tell you how many people are on those antacids, like, and they're taking Tums or Pepcid or whatever it is for years.
I know my grandfather had stomach cancer, and they actually said it was probably caused by eating antacid Skittles constantly. I forget the name of the one back then.
Tums.
It was probably equivalent to what Pepto is or Tums. Yeah, basically. But essentially that, prolonged use of these things can really have a damaging impact on your health long term, putting these little band-aids over what you're kind of what you said, over a root problem that should be addressed in a different way.
Yeah, it's really, that one gets me the most, because like, if you're stopping your stomach from producing the acids it needs to break down your food, then how is your intestines and like the villi and the microvilli in your intestines supposed to absorb those nutrients? And the answer is they don't get to absorb all of them. So like it's just a domino effect.
Yeah. And I mean, there's like, have all this awareness, all these commercials going on, and people self-diagnosing, themselves. And probably getting even things confused, and then when the doctor, and I'm not making a claim here, I'm just saying, but like doctor has 4 minutes, I don't know, probably a lot of misdiagnosis going on, based on assumptions. And, heck, Chris went in and he just had a headache, and they gave him some blue pills, and he's like, what the hell? Like, I mean, I joke, but like, I just think that has to be happening, because people just kind of halfway paying attention, like, oh, I kind of have that condition, and then they go in and they're quoting and asking for this stuff.
Yep. And I think too is like when I personally consider IBS a blanket term. I think that's what they categorize people in. And again, this is my personal opinion. And this is how I felt personally. I feel like they didn't know what was going on. And so they put me into this category of, you have IBS, and, here's some pills that we can do to try to manage it, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, I mean, now I know, you know what I mean? Like what was potentially causing it. And I was able to, get myself into remission. I've been in remission for a long time, but it's just wild to me that like nutrition and diet is never even brought up once.
Yeah. It's like,
what are you eating?
You think that's where you'd start.
It's crazy to think back about it. Yeah. It's now when we talk about these things, I think of all my doctor's visits I've ever had, not once was diet and nutrition. I've had a few decent doctors that will sit with me for long periods, and they would more ask, like, how's your sex life? Stuff like that, which I'm like, okay, even that is, you're diving a little deeper, which I think is good. But the fact that we don't touch on diet and nutrition, especially when we all know that a lot of our food supply is not ideal, right? And even right along with, we allow pharmaceutical advertising, well, we allow GMOs too. A lot of countries don't allow that, and perfect example, one of my, our other business partners was just over in Europe, and he's like, dude, I lost weight, I ate more, and I never felt bloated or disgusting, So it's like, what's really going on? What's in the food?
Well, there's when you see your products say enriched grains, well, what does that mean?
Sounds healthy. It sounds healthy, right? Enriched.
It does sound healthy. And I know, when I was listening to Gary Brecka talk, and he was talking about how like they're spraying the crops and the grains with folic acid, and they've been doing that since I think like the 90s or something. And that's just like crazy to me. And I know for me, when I'm taking prenatals, I can't take folic acid, right? I have to take methylfolate. I have to take it in a way that I know that my body is going to break it down and absorb it and process it. So that's crazy. I mean, how much enriched flour and grains are you consuming?
Can I ask you related to that? Because I've had so many friends in the last 10 years, all of a sudden are gluten intolerant. And I read recently that people are like, they're attributing it really to the glyphosate that's on these, especially with like beer and stuff. A lot of people, oh, I can't drink beer, I'm gluten. What's your opinion on that? Do you think it's more glyphosate related?
I think that it's 100%. I think it's multiple things. I know that our wheat plants are not what they were, 50 years ago. They've been, I think they're like dwarf wheat plants. Again, like, this is something that I've read a really long time ago, so I may be incorrect, but, the wheat is not the same. It's been genetically modified. It's being sprayed with God knows what, glyphosate being one of them. And, our soil is tainted, and then you have like the folic acid that's being sprayed on the plants. And it's just like, it could be gluten intolerance because of the type of wheat that they're using. It could be a combination of all three things. Maybe there's something else that we don't even know yet.
Probably.
Yeah.
All the above.
Exactly. I don't know. Like, this show's here to ask questions, but sometimes you don't know if you want the answer. It's like you do, because knowledge is power. But yeah, I don't know. The motivations around some of these things seem iffy at best.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I like me and my husband. My husband used to be a gunsmith, and it's like just crazy how we've both like changed over the past couple years, and now we're just like really gearing towards like he just wants to go hunting as much as possible, for our food source, and we really honestly are leaning towards trying to have a homestead. I'm trying to do and provide everything for us, because I just don't trust the food sources. And I mean, like, sure, you can buy organic, and I do, but like, now you have Appeal. I don't know if you've heard of Appeal, and they have like the Appeal organic version. And,
No.
it's just like, I just don't trust anything.
I've always been skeptical about the organic. I just felt when I walk down the grocery aisle, I'm like, how do you know? Like, I mean, they're over here just cost twice as much, but how do you know it's really organically by the true nature of the term, grown that way?
You don't. And I've got some friends in the agriculture business. They grow produce. And I've asked them that literally this weekend. Said, what you just said, how do I know it's organic or it's really organic? They're like, well, pretty much. It's like, as far as I see, organic means you paid it for a certification from the government, and they said, okay, you paid up, now you can put this label on it.
Yeah, I know. Like, look, I will go out of my way to buy certain things organic, like strawberries, just because like strawberries contain so many pesticides. Like I won't, like, it's bad. So I will get the organic version. Do I know for sure that it's any better? No, I hope it is. It's just one of those things where I just kind of have to hope and pray that it's better, especially when I'm giving it to my son. But we all just do the best that we can, and unfortunately, that's why you go to your local farms, support your local farms, and you try to grow what you can.
Kristine, as we close out the show here today, if someone's having gut issues, obviously getting with someone like you and reaching out and doing that is a big part of the step. But are there other DIY solutions or something they should start with that you could recommend?
Absolutely. First and foremost, cut out the bread, cut out the sugar. I know it's like what everyone says, but it's true. If you want to eat bread, sprouted bread is fine. Like Ezekiel, actually, I think Aldi's has their own sprouted bread, which I've checked out, and it seems to be pretty decent. And staying away from sugar. There's natural forms of sugar. Like I think I posted this a couple times. You can make date syrup. So like I put dates in my smoothies, but dates are really like hard and sticky. And so I let them sit in like a mason jar of water. And then that water essentially becomes its own like syrup. And I use that syrup to like sweeten everything else. So there are small little things that you can do. And I post this quite often to give people like little tidbits of advice on how to, start making those really small and easy, simple changes. Number 3, water. Like almost everyone I talk to is dehydrated. If you start drinking, if you get those 32 ounce jugs, if you can try drinking 3 of those a day, if you're working out, if you go to the gym, maybe add another one of those to that. But if you're drinking at least 3 of those a day, I guarantee you'll already notice a difference. 100%.
As far as like overall wellness feeling, the gut.
Yeah, because how is your body, if your cells, your body is mostly water, how is your cells supposed to operate and do what they need to do if they don't have like the essential basics? And so water and providing yourself with, a good balanced diet, and it doesn't have to be boring either, which is also something that I dive into and I post frequently. Like, you don't have to eat like these. I see some of these like people that are dieting, and I'm like, you don't have to diet. You just cut out the processed food, eat real food, eat a juicy ribeye, like eat the juicy ribeye, make yourself a sweet potato. You know what I mean? Just like, don't go and eat a fast food burger.
Yes.
You're my kind of nutritionist.
Yeah, I know. Give me the juicy steak. On that note.
Oh no, I
Oh,
can eat
no.
steak and potatoes. Oh shit.
Yeah, love it,
Love it.
Kristine. Where can everybody find the book, learn more about everything you got going on?
So everything is on my website. I have it all in one place now. It's Herbalist Kristine with a K. It's all one word, herbalistkristine.com. Everything you can find there. And I'm also on the heal.me platform. Yeah, so I offer herbal consultations and wellness coaching because a lot of times this transition is not always so easy. And so some of us need a little bit of hand-holding, which is fine. You know, we all need some support from time to time.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on. Any final words, Chris?
I'm just stoked that we could have you on and inform the audience and some more resources and another place to go for what's the name of the book again?
Do you have the guts?
Do you have
Do you have the
Yes.
guts?
Yes, we do.
I asked the audience, do you have the guts? And we all do. The second brain, the gut.
It's true. It's 70% of your immune system is in your gut
Hey,
too. So
you better have the guts then.
it's got to be taken
Exactly.
care of.
Well, thank you, Kristine. We love your vibe.
Thank you, guys.
You know where to find us. All on Instagram, all over the place. Chris and I. You can find Chris Burby Hansen at Ryan Alford and vibe.science on Instagram. For Chris at the Vacay Lounge, I'm Ryan Alford. We'll see you next time on Vibe Science. The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe.